How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to some more Premier League content this time, where we're going to be focusing on Premier League strikers. Me and my brother have picked our top 10 Premier League strikers. We're going to go through them from 10 all the way up to number 1 and have a bit of a debate and see where we go. I think we've picked very similar players, but they might be in very different orders. So, yeah, I guess let's get straight into it, and starting off with number 10. Wilson against Ferguson. So Sim's gone for Callum Wilson at number 10. I've gone for Evan Ferguson. I think Evan Ferguson's obviously a very young striker coming through at the moment. I feel like for an 18-year-old, he's well beyond his years. His goals to minutes ratio is insane, albeit he hasn't played too many games in the Premier League. You're looking at 10 games so far this season, 19 games last season, and one only the season before, having scored 11 Premier League goals. But yeah, I couldn't really put him higher than 10, and he actually struggled to get into the top 10 at all, but I actually feel like he should be there.
Yeah, I think he's class, Ferguson. I don't have him in my top 10 just because he's still very young. And I think that right now, the players that I've got on my list are still a bit better than him, just as overall strikers. But maybe in a year's time, I think this might be a different story. But he's still, he's for an 18-year-old, he's unbelievable. I have to say, I'm a massive fan of Evan Ferguson. He's going to be an amazing Premier League striker. I've got Wilson there as my 10th choice. I think he's the archetypal, like really solid Premier League striker. Good pace, good finish. I do think his overall game lacks a bit of quality, and I think as well his finishing from tighter angles isn't the best. He's very good when he's running in behind it on goal and when he's attacking crosses, but I feel like there's something missing from his game, from his overall quality, that's why he struggles to really compete with the top strikers. And it's why as well I think Eddie Howe prefers Isaac to him whenever he's fit. But I think Wilson is a striker that he's a bit of a nightmare for Premier League defenders, because he's just so direct, so physical, and he never gives you a moment's rest. But I just have him at 10.
I think Wilson's actually massively underrated. I think a lot of fans, when talking about the best strikers in the Premier League, gloss over him, to be honest. And I think he's been doing it for so many years, whether it be for Bournemouth, now Newcastle, and the stats as well speak for themselves. Especially this last year, 18 goals in the Premier League. This year, already 7 goals in 9 games, and a lot of them coming from the bench as well. So yeah, I rate Wilson massively, and that's why I've gone for him at number 9. Who have you gone for at number 9?
Who have I gone for number 9? Gabby Jesus.
Oh,
Gabby Jesus, number 9.
That is mad. Jesus at 9.
Okay, Jesus at 9. Look, he's great. He's a great player. I think he's massively frustrating when it comes to his finishing ability, albeit his goals, he still gets a respectable amount of goals. I think last season he got 11 goals, considering he was out for 3 months, is pretty respectable. Obviously, his overall game is very strong. He's a really good physical dribbler, good at bringing people into play. But the problem with Jesus is he blows very hot and cold, I feel, a lot of the time. And when he's hot, he's very hot. And he's like when he's on his game, he can be nearly unplayable. But I feel like he's only in that kind of form like one every 4 games kind of thing. I don't think he's consistently in that form all the time. He can leave you frustrating. And I feel like some of the other players are maybe more of a consistent threat in front of goal than him. So that's the only reason I've gone from number 9. But I do agree, if he can add a bit more consistency to his game, he's definitely maybe even in the top 5. But just because of that, I've gone for him 9th.
Yeah, I mean, I put him a lot higher up on the list, to be honest. But in terms of Callum Wilson, I agreed with a lot of the things that you said before. Like I said, I think he's criminally underrated. He gets consistent goals. I think this will be probably his 4th season of hitting double figures in the Premier League, which looks like he's going to hit with 7 goals already so far this season. And yeah, I just think he's a really good striker. So that's why I've gone for him in 9th. But
I feel like Wilson's like a modern day Darren Bent.
I think he's better than that, though.
But I'm saying similar kind of, that's where he is, of the modern day. I think he's a great striker. He's always going to score goals, but he's never going to be a
I think striker. He contributes a lot more than what Darren Bent contributed, though.
What, off the ball, you mean?
Yeah.
Maybe. I think it's very similar. I think they're just very much goal scorers. They like to run in behind. They like to play on the last shoulder. But if they're not scoring goals, then they're not really involved in the game.
Oh, well, let's go and see number 8. Who have you gone for number 8?
I've gone for Nkunku.
Ooh.
of Chelsea. Obviously hasn't played a minute, but obviously I'm a big fan of his from the Bundesliga. He had a mad goals and assists rate in the Bundesliga, 170 games, 126 goals and assists. Still only 25 as well, so we've got plenty of time on his side. Was playing, obviously people will say, is he a striker because he played in the number 10 a lot, but he played, I think, in his final season predominantly up front for Leipzig. Obviously haven't played in the Premier League yet, so there you could say, you haven't seen him play, so how can you put him in the top 10? But I just rate him that highly, and I think he's going to be a very good player for Chelsea. So I just think as a player, from what I can see from him, he's in my top 10, even though he hasn't played, so I put him in 8th.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle to put Nkunku in just because he hasn't played in the Premier League yet, and seeing as we're ranking Premier League strikers, I felt like it was a bit hard to put him in just because he hasn't played a Premier League game and injuries held him back. But maybe if he did start the season and he's played the football, maybe things would be different. But I have gone for Ollie Watkins in number 8. Hold up play, unbelievable, knows where the back of the net is, scores consistently double figures. Last season 15, the year before 11, the year before 14. Aerial ability. I think he's a brilliant striker, Ollie Watkins. And I feel like if he goes to a bigger club than Aston Villa as well, he might be even more appreciated and people might sit up and take more notice of him. But right now, I'm going to put him in number 8. I did think the other strikers that I've picked are a bit better than him.
Yeah, I've put Watkins a bit higher, so we'll get into that.
All right, number 7. Both of us gone for the exact same player in number 7, and that is Darwin Núñez. I think he's got all the attributes to be a top striker in this Premier League, but I still feel that he's a bit raw in the talent. He misses so many gilt-edged chances. He's such a frustrating player to watch, Darwin Núñez, because he does the sublime, and then when the easy stuff comes, he just completely fluffs his lines. But I do feel like the more kind of action he gets in the Premier League and the more experience he gets, the better he's going to get. But right now, I couldn't put him any higher than 7th just because of how frustrating he is to watch.
Yeah, and I get that. I think he's improving. I think this season he started even better than he was last season. Clearly, he's an inconsistent finisher, but I think his sheer physicality and pace is always going to be a threat. I think as well, the reason I put him higher than someone like Jesus is I feel like he's actually a bit more, even though his finishing can be inconsistent. I think like in terms of his threat level is more consistent than Jesus. I feel like he's always involved a bit more in the game than Jesus is. And I feel like his finishing is improving. I know he missed a sitter against Luton, but I do think his finishing is improving a bit. And once he gets that really consistent, this guy is going to be a 20-plus goal a season striker, no problem. And I think his overall play as well, he's getting a few assists. He's linked up with Salah really well. He's so strong and physical. He's this absolute handful. So I'm a big fan of Núñez, so I put him in 7th.
Yeah, it's not just that Luton game with the finishing, though. Like, he misses so many, like, crazy, easy chances. Like,
he's still 23.
There was one in the Europa League that was a complete open goal a few weeks ago as well. It's just like proper open goals he's missing where like literally anyone on the football pitch could probably score them.
Yeah, no, I get that. And that's true. He has missed his fair share of chances, but I'm backing him to kind of tighten that part of his game.
All right, let's move on to number 6. Who have we gone for? I've gone for Gabby Jesus. Sim's gone for Ivan Toney. I think Gabby Jesus is a really good striker. I really do. Yes, he's very frustrating in terms of he needs a lot of chances to score goals, but I think he's so much more than that. And I feel like when he's playing at the number 9, it makes Arsenal tick a lot better. He brings other players into play, Martinelli and Saka. He brings them into play a lot. And I feel like a lot of the goals that being shared around in the Arsenal team, when you're looking at goals from the wings, goals from Odegaard, I feel it's Gabby Jesus is like the enabler in that team, and I think he's really good.
Yeah, I've gone for Ivan Toney in 6th. Obviously, a big fan of his. Had a brilliant season last season for Brentford. Scored over 20 Premier League goals. So ever since he's come into the Premier League, he's been fantastic. He's so physical. I think his hold-up play is fantastic. He's so good at bringing other players into play. And I think he's done so well for Brentford in being like the hub of their strike force. Even though they're in good form at the moment, they definitely have missed him since he's been out. That he brings, obviously, brilliant penalty taker as well. Very good finisher, can strike a ball from outside the box as well. He's a very good penalty box striker. I don't think maybe he offers as much threat in behind as some of the other guys on the list, but he's still a threat in behind nonetheless. And I think his physical attributes I think, separate him a lot in his build. I think in terms of build-up play, he's one of the best on the list, actually, other than Tony. I'm a massive fan of his, so goes into 6th.
I think you've underrated Tony, to be honest. I've put him much higher on the list than that. I think Tony is absolutely class. I really do. And I think he's going to get a big move once his ban's over. And I think people will take even more notice of him as well. But let's go and look at number 5. Who have we gone for? So Sim has gone for Ollie Watkins at number 5. I've gone for Alexander Isak. What's your thinking of Watkins?
Yeah, I've gone for Watkins over Tony just because I actually think since Unai Emery's come in, Watkins has been actually better than Tony. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal in the last 6 months or so. I think since he's played under Unai Emery, 35 games, 18 goals, 9 assists. I think as well, adding in all competitions, is over 20 goals since Unai Emery took charge. He's been absolutely fantastic. He's been playing for England as well. I think he actually... I think he's a bit of a better finisher than Tony. I think Tony has better all-round game, albeit Watkins is really getting the assist now at the moment as well. I think when it comes to being a bit more pacey presence in the opposition half, I think Watkins is more likely to run in behind and chase things, whereas Tony is a bit more of he likes the ball into feet and bring other players into play. I just think Watkins, I've based that portion of it off the back of, I think since Watkins under Unai Emery, I think it's just been a bit better than Tony. But Tony had a phenomenal season, don't get me wrong. But I think Watkins has been unbelievable since Emery's come in. So I've just put him just above Tony.
Yeah, I've put Isak there. I think Isak, since joining the Premier League, has been absolute quality. He's so hard to deal with, so tricky on the ball, great finisher as well. Link-up play, I think, is really good as well. I mean, I can't really see a proper weakness in his game, Alexander Isak, to be honest. And he didn't score bundles of goals in the Spanish league, but I think he's taken to the Premier League really well in such a short space of time. In terms of the Tony v Watkins debate, I think Tony's a better player. I think you're looking at the number of goals he scored last season alone, 20 goals in the Premier League in that Brentford side, I think is absolutely brilliant. I think if you put Tony in this Aston Villa side, I think he gets more goals than Ollie Watkins, to be honest. I really do. And I think the way Unai Emery sets up is all geared around the attacking qualities of Watkins and Moussa Diaby, especially this season, and they're a very good attacking side, where Brentford are more like kind of defence first kind of thing. So I rate Tony higher than Watkins.
I just think since Emery's coming, I think Watkins has actually been a bit better than Tony. That would be my argument.
In terms of number 4, who have you gone for?
Number 4, Julian Alvarez.
And same with me, Julian Alvarez.
Yeah, brilliant player.
He is a brilliant player, but I mean, it is a kind of short sample size because he didn't get too much game time last season. This year, he's come in and absolutely smashed it from the off. And I think he's actually looked better than Haaland this year in the Premier League, albeit Haaland's still scoring a lot more goals than him. I just think this Alvarez, he's got such a strike on him from range, from distance, from point blank range, everywhere he can find the net from. Link up play is unbelievable. He's got such speed and pace on him as well. I think this guy is just going to keep growing and growing and growing, and he's going to keep growing higher up on this list as well. And 4th at this moment in time is unbelievable for a player of his age.
Yeah, and still, 20, 21? Mm-hmm. He had an incredible World Cup as well. For Man City, he's played 66 games and he's got 34 goal contributions in 66 games. For a player his age is unbelievable, especially when a lot of the games last season were coming off the bench.
He is in a City team, though.
Doesn't matter. You could say that, but look, Grealish doesn't get the goals and assists, does he? It's not that simple. And I think he's just been absolutely phenomenal. And when you're considering taking his age into account, he's he reminds me of like a mini Aguero, like how he used to be at his
100%.
age, like a little pit bull on the ball, very hard to deal with his dribbling ability, but he's just got that quality with his assists and his goals as well. He's so good at setting people up. He's like he can be in that number 10 position and be really creative, and he can also run in behind and be like a striker as well. I think his finishing ability is absolutely phenomenal. He's starting to get free kicks as well, which shows his technical ability, and he's just going to be just one of the best strikers. He's already one of the best strikers in the league, but he's still so young. And I think they've got a real gem there in Julian Alvarez. And you saw at the World Cup as well, even on the world stage, in the big occasion, he's not overawed by it.
Not phased at all.
Yeah.
Not phased one bit. Brilliant player, Julian Alvarez. Let's go on to number 3. Sim has picked Alexander Isak. I've picked Ivan Toney, 2 players that we've mentioned already today. I think Ivan Toney, if it wasn't for his ban this year, he'd still be smashing in the goals. 20 goals last season in that Brentford side. Yes, he did score a number of penalties, but his link-up play is second to none. Aerial ability, unbelievable. Unbelievable finisher as well. I think he's got the whole package, Ivan Toney.
Yeah, I like Ivan Toney as well. The reason I've gone for Isak is because I think at his age as well, I think people are really I think people need to see his quality because the ball sticks to his foot like Velcro. I think people underestimate how amazing his close control is and how hard that is to do. He can run with the ball at pace, really close to him. His finishing ability since coming to Newcastle has been brilliant. I think he's got a really good goal scoring rate when he's been on the pitch for Newcastle as well. I think there's a reason why Eddie Howe prefers him in the team to Wilson, because I think he gets really involved in the build-up play as well, and I think that's something, one of his real big strengths, his dribbling ability in the build-up play. He's a lot stronger than he looks as well, Alexander Isak, and still really young. And I think given his age, and I think even at his performance level, his ability level is actually a lot higher than a lot of people on this list. I rate him so highly, Alexander. I think he's pure quality with the ball close to his feet. So I actually have him at number 3.
Wow. And I think the next 2 are going to be fairly easy, and I'm pretty sure we've gone for the same 2. And yes, in second, it is Heung-min Son. Obviously, he is kind of assumed to be like a left winger, but he has moved to striker this season, and I think he's much better for it. I think he's a player that's evolving as he gets older, and I do think striker is his favoured position now and is his best position. One of the most clinical strikers, if not the most clinical striker in Premier League history in terms of overperforming his XG, and I think he's got so much to his game. He's probably the best running in behind striker in the league. I think his link-up play is getting better and better as weeks progress, and he is the best finisher, in my opinion, in the league. So I think he's unreal.
Yeah, I think his finishing ability is really what separates him from the rest of the people on this list. Obviously, he's got pace. He can dribble. His hold-up play is not as good as some of the other players on this list, but it's getting a bit better, his link-up play. But I think it's just his finishing ability is literally, if you're ranking finishing ability out of 10, like you might get Watkins maybe an 8 out of 10, you maybe Tony maybe an 8 out of 10, but he's literally a 10 out of 10 Son. It's what separates him. I think he's got an overperformance of over 30 XG over his time at Spurs. And I was looking at just his time up front since he came to Tottenham and looking at some of the stats, and he's played 86 games as a central striker for Tottenham in all competitions since he joined, and in those 86 games he has 68 goal contributions, which is in that time it's 46 goals and 22 assists.
Wow.
In that time. That's while playing central striker. So that, I think those stats goes to show how effective he is when he plays in that role. This season alone, it's 11 games, 8 goals, 1 assist as a central striker. So it shows that he still can play that role even now. And when he's been asked to fill that role when Kane's been absent, or even to partner Kane in the striking position, he's shown he's more than adept to play that role as well. So he's a phenomenal player, Heung-min Son, best finisher on the list for me, and that's why he goes into number 2.
And I actually think it's best finisher by far. Like that's how good I think he is at finishing, and like everyone's going to go on about a number 1 and look how many goals he's scored and everything like that, but you look at Haaland, like he can have about 5 chances a game and score 2, but that's just how good that Man City team are. Son only needs 1 chance, 2 chances a game, and he'll get a goal.
That's the thing. Haaland gets a lot more chances than Son, and that's why he scores more goals. If Son was in that City team, he would probably get as many goals, if not more.
More, I think, much more. But yeah, it's no secret who our number 1 striker in the Premier League is. It is Erling Haaland, record Premier League goal scorer in a single season, which was last season. His debut in a Premier League as well, picked up a treble in his debut season, and he was central to that. I mean, what doesn't this guy have? He's got pace, he can run in behind, he's got sheer physicality. Everything that he does is to a high standard. I just feel like the only thing that he can be kind of held back on is maybe he misses a few chances a game, but that's just literally nitpicking.
Literally nitpicking, because he's got 79 goal contributions in 70 games. So if his main criticism is he maybe should be scoring more, you're like, okay, wow, like he should be on 100 goal contributions. Like, is that where we're at? He's just an absolute freak. Let's be honest. He's unbelievable. He's got absolutely everything. He's like built in a lab, the way he's built. He's the strongest striker on the list. He's probably the fastest striker on the list. In terms of finishing, I don't even think he's the most clinical, but I think his physicality gets him so many chances per game that he can miss 3 or 4, but he's still got enough chances to get at least two goals.
That's what I was trying to say.
That's how good he is. He's just, that's why I think he's always going to get the most goals in the Premier League, because not only is he getting the most chances because of the way City play, but also his physicality gets him the most chances as well, because he can't be bullied out of games. He's always going to get, when there are crosses in the box, he's always going to be, more often than not, be getting there first, because he's going to be able to bully defenders with his pace and his physicality, and then he's still a very clinical finisher as well, and his finishing ability will get him so many goals given the chances he gets. He's just unbelievable. He's perfect for how City want to play, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, but obviously as a Spurs fan I want Son to be top, but he is just the best striker on the list because he marries that physical ability with the technical ability with the team he's in. It all just functions perfectly, which means though, given those stats, 79 goal contributions in 70 games for City, it's just unbelievable stats.
Do you think that he gets similar totals like to Kane if he's in the Spurs team than what Kane was getting consistently? Because I don't think he does. I think he gets a lot of goals. Definitely 20 plus, 100%. Yeah, of course.
But I don't think he gets City numbers for Spurs. No.
No one gets City numbers because no one's ever got that before then. But I'm talking about the numbers that Kane consistently got for Spurs.
I think last season he got 30, didn't he? I think he could have got at least 25 for sure. Yeah, I don't know if he would get 30, but I think the way Haaland plays, he's always going to, it doesn't matter who he plays for, he will get goals. But it's just literally turned up 1,000 when he's playing for City. That's the thing. But he will get goals for any team he plays for, 100%.
Well, let's go through our lists one more time. Sim, you can start off with yours and then I'll go through mine.
So 10 to 1, I've got Wilson at number 10, Jesus number 9, and Nkunku number 8, Nunes number 7, Tony 6, Watkins 5, Alvarez 4, Isaac 3, Heung-min Son in second, and Haaland as my best striker in the Premier League.
And now I've gone for Evan Ferguson at number 10, then Callum Wilson to Watkins, Darwin Nunes, Gabriel Jesus, Isaac, Alvarez, Tony, Heung-min Son, and Erling Haaland. Those are top 10 striker picks in the Premier League. I want to know who your top 10 striker picks are. Put that in the comment section below. And also let us know which list do you prefer, mine or Sim's. But thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.